Yeah, welcome everyone to this week's uh, webinar titled Stopping the Violence in America. This on April 2nd, 2025. We're always grateful to be here and to bring forth some excellent speakers that are dealing with reducing crime in America. And just like a little background, originally we started off as dealing with guns, gun violence. And then after the webinars and all the speakers started to come on, we realized it's not only just the guns, but there is some motivating factors behind or root causes behind people picking up this inanimate object called the gun and shooting and harming other people. And we felt like through the 3 years that we are here that this answering and solving and resolving the root cause, then we begin to reduce the violent behaviors stemming from gun violence. And so we have been on for about 3 years. We've had several excellent speakers, and a diversity of speakers is always fascinating and has been rewarding. And that is, we had mayors and police chief and community activists and religious leaders, very importantly, and others that have come on who has played a critical role in reducing violence in their respective areas. But what we found is that we want to be a catalyst to bring all those silos together in one pot to work together to bring what we call a national impact on a collective basis. Today, we are honored to have another of our speakers, and the brother is Randy D. Wright. Randy is an author, he's a national motivated speaker and certified life coach who has motivated and inspired his audience to make positive changes in their personal and professional lives. He has a passion to reach youth, adults, through critical life leadership skills. Randy speaks in schools, colleges, campuses, seminars, churches, conferences. Randy has won several Best Speakers awards from Toastmasters International. Great. He has served as executive director of Men in Positive Action, as a mentor with Project Manhood in Southfield, Michigan, conducting after-school male mentoring programs throughout the metro Detroit. The programs are designed to help young men transition from boys to men, specializing in life skills, conflict resolution skills, reading skills, and personal development. He conducted a yearly male empowerment conference, 3-on-3 basketball tournaments, as part of reaching young men in the community. Since moving to Texas 3 years ago, Randy is involved with youth throughout the North Texas area in McKinney, speaking against bullying, anger issues, and how to learn conflict resolution. Randy Wright has written a couple books here, 25 Ways to Release the Greatness in You, wow, which is also available. Create your destiny, and that will be released actually on Amazon and bookstore. But the topic today, Randy, so welcome, is create your own destiny, and I think that plays a critical role in people helping themselves in their own way reduce the violence in their own lives. And so we're really, and the floor is yours. And afterwards, we will have some question and answers or statements from the general audience. God bless you and welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here on this afternoon, and I wanted to just thank Dr. Madeline Clark Alexander for this invitation to be here, along with VJ, my DeVos alumni brother, who introduced me to her and told me about the wonderful things you were doing, coming together to stop violence. So, just for a few moments, let me just tell a little bit about myself, a little bit about my story. Today, as we talk about the violence in our communities and in America, is really increased at an alarming rate. And a lot of us are looking for solutions and ways to decrease the violence and unite our communities and our neighborhoods with a strong bond of support and togetherness. And I believe that the way that we're going to be able to do this is that we got to understand the power of community. Together, we can make a difference. At 15 years old, my father was dying of cancer, and I had a very hard time dealing with that. And I remember I would go to my homeroom class, and I would check in and go downtown Detroit, where I was raised at, and I would go to Macy's. At the time it was named Hudson's, and I would go to the movies. And it caused me to fall back 2 years in school. And I remember the middle school that I was going to was called Durfee Middle School. And the janitors began to laugh at me and make fun of me. And I went home and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to drop out of school. She was like, why, baby? I said, Mom, because the janitors, they're making fun of me, calling me Mr. Durfee. She paused for a moment and she said, listen, you are going to go back to school tomorrow and you are going to tell those janitors you're going to graduate from high school and you ain't going to end up being a janitor. Wow. You're talking about something that fired me up, gave me inspiration. I went back. I went to summer school for 2 semesters, made up a grade, graduated with honors, and went on to college. But what my story really is about a young man who had lost his dad, felt like there was no role model or anybody there that could really pour into me. But little did I know, all of this started in my community in order for this transformation to take place to create my destiny. I'm going to go straight to uh, my book is coming out in June. Create Your Destiny: How to Design the Life That You Want to Live. And the first thing I want to give everybody today, in order for us to combat the violence that's going on, first of all, we have to teach ourselves as well as young people how to take the lids off your destiny. Somebody made a comment that said, we live in a jar and we think the lid is the sky. I want to ask a question. What lids are you allowing to control the destiny in your life? What lids have you allowed to dominate your thinking and have kept you in the same place year after year? What lids make you feel uncomfortable and unproductive with your current situation in life, but you never find the motivation to push yourself forward and do more than you've done in the past? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we all have lids in our lives. Some of us have relationship lids. Some of us have past baggage lids. Some of us have people lids. Some of us have job and career lids. Some of us have self esteem lids. And some of us have poor planning and follow through lids. What about those no patient lids? What about those self destructive lids that some of us have? Whatever lids that you have in your life and that you've allowed to stagnate your progress, your happiness, your self growth, personal development, they must be let go. Why? Because lids create barriers. And these barriers can hinder your success. And if you're not careful, we can cause the lids in our lives, whether we see them in our communities, in our family, in our nation. If we don't do anything, we can live with this sense of regret of what could have been, what should have been, uh, regrets of failure and frustration, regrets of even that some of us are at a certain place in our lives. I've been doing youth ministry and youth work and youth community works for well over 30 years. It has been one of the most rewarding parts of my life because I've been allowed to go into young people's lives and meet them right where they are. Not as a minister, not as an elder of the church, but as a caring man who lost his dad at 15 years old, didn't really have a man in a home, but I had a positive mom with a strong sense of value and determination, and she instilled those into me. And here I was allowed at 18 years old, when God called me to the ministry, to go out and just share this message of love and hope. And one of the reasons why I love young people, and I really believe that you and I, ladies and gentlemen, have to do something to cause them to take the lids off their lives and come against this violence, because sometimes young people think it's easier for me to stand up for myself, hurt you, kill you, shoot you, degrade you. But you got to understand something. This just didn't happen today. This has happened a while ago. I remember coming up, and here's some of the lids that I had to deal with. I remember standing at the bus stop, and a group of 5 guys came up to me. One of them just off me in my jaw. I said, "Hey man, I ain't got no money. I just got my bus tickets here. You can have my bus tickets." They didn't want it, they left. I'm riding home on the school bus, and I'm sitting in the back, and I'm watching these bullies just begin to bother and harass the other young people that were in the front of the bus, because they didn't feel like they were that important, or they were easy to push over. And I'm sitting in the back of the bus, Dr. Alexander, saying to myself, man, I wish I could turn into Superman or a superhero and do something about this. I just want to just jump in there and help them. And little did I know, I was 15 years old. 3 years later, I would be introduced to somebody who took me out to this youth camp and took me out of my community, took me out of my environment. We rode horses, we swam in the lake, and we played games. But it was at the auditorium that we were listening to this young man who was so discontented with life. We were listening to him on this audio. And the young man said, I don't want to live because life is too hard and I can't deal with it. He had all these leads and all these baggage and all this frustration he was dealing with. And we heard a gun go off. The young man had taken his life. But what changed my life that night, it made me want to take a stand against violence, against crime, or against people who don't really believe in themselves, is when the minister said these words. He says, if you die without Christ, you will be lost forever. I was like, oh, forever. I'm like, oh, no, brother can't go out like that. So I gave my life to Christ, and I decided to become a positive change, a positive impact in the community. And it started because even though I didn't have a father, I had a neighbor named Mr. Underwood, and he set up a basketball court where we as the kids would come in and play basketball. We play games. These things got us off the streets. So guess what? When I became an adult and I got my first home, I set up a basketball court. I became involved in our block club. Why? Because I was taking the lids of restraints off, that we're better together as a community than we are separately. And our community was mixed with white, blacks, whatever, but we didn't look at color as a thing. We looked at coming together because we love having that family bond and we cared about each other. If somebody came in our community, try to start a fight or steal a car or something, I mean, I was out there, hey man, what you doing? Get out of this. No, we don't do that here. Why? Because I was trying to teach the young people, because sometimes young people are so materialistic. They look at what you have, what you drive, where you live, and they think that this is the essence of life. This is not the essence of life. Yes, it's good to have houses and cars and jewelry and various things. But my question is, if who you are is what you own, if you lose it, then who are you? And that's one of the lids that we've got to let young people know, that the measure of a person, the greatness of a person is not measured in what you own, but what you can contribute to make a difference. And that's why we have to take the lids off of our destiny. Number 2, invest in your mind. I love a quote by Benjamin Franklin that said, take the money in your wallet and invest it in your mind. And in return, your mind will fill your wallet. Over $57 billion a year I spend on video games. This is more than American films and music and book and publishing all combined. During the pandemic, it really skyrocketed. And this is one of the things that I've really seen, especially working with young men, because I really have a passion to work with them, is that they value video games more and investing in those things than they do their mind. And I had to tell him, I said, you know what? Your mind is the most greatest asset that you have. And when you take your time to invest in it, whether it's reading a book, reading autobiographies and biographies about successful people who have done what you want to do. Because my thinking or my philosophy is this: if you gotta have a goal and a dream, then find somebody who's doing what you want to do and see if they'll mentor you or share some secrets, or you can read their books or something, and it will allow you to be able to understand that a lot of these people that we put on the pedestal, they're just like us. They have the same struggles and fight. So you got to invest in your mind. Those who refuse to invest in their mind eventually will become stagnant and fall behind in the progression of life. Number three, and I'm just about through, choose preparation over pleasure. I love this quote by a man named uh, Noka Vichowicz. He says, opportunity does not waste time with those who are unprepared. Preparation must be about you reaching your highest level of potential and displaying it to the masses of people that you want to reach. Choosing preparation over pleasure means that you have stepped into a zone, ladies and gentlemen, where few people ever obtain. Choosing preparation over pleasure is about sacrificing today to create the life that you want to live tomorrow. Preparation is what sets apart thinkers from doers. It places you in an elite group of achievers and among those who stand out from the crowd. And then finally, choosing preparation over pleasure is a daily decision, not to conform to the norm, but to set the standard of excellence, valuing, seizing every minute, hour, day, week, month of the year to grow, to evolve, to get better, to become more productive, more efficient, mentally, physically, spiritually, physically, and financially. This is how we can reach our communities. This is how we can make a difference in the lives of those who we are trying to see that violence is not the answer. So, stopping the violence means that each of us must come together with a sense of urgency, responsibility, and a common goal and purpose, not to let our communities and our neighborhoods die. Stopping the violence means that we must make our youth a top priority by teaching them the importance of love and compassion and empathy and caring for others. And life is more than just obtaining, I'll say it again, money, cars, and jewelries, and making it rain, and disrespecting our parents and our grandparents, but valuing older people for the knowledge and wisdom that they have because they paved the way for us. I love older people. I've never, from a child, I love to hear the wisdom of older people because they've lived long enough to understand. Now that I'm older, I love pointing to young people who want to be mentored. And to me, one of the greatest thing is being a leader or a mentor is for me to be able to pour into others that once I go on to do something else, that work can still carry on. And that's my challenge to everybody here today. You need to leave a legacy for the future generations. If you are the leader of an organization, a nonprofit, and you doing everything and you don't know how to delegate or give people responsibility, guess what? Once something happens to you, that mission, that purpose, that building, that nonprofit, it stops and dies. But if you take time to invest in the next generation, when you're long gone, it'll be remembered. You made the difference. She made the difference. He made the difference. So stopping the violence means that we must place a high priority of lifting our young people and those in our community to a higher level, that they can become entrepreneurs, owning their own businesses, investing in their minds, reading, writing, listening, communicating in such a way to their peers, not to destroy, but let's build each other up. So take the lids off your destiny, invest in your mind, and choose preparation over pleasures. If you do these things, then you are on the road to creating your destiny. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Randy. Right, my brother, thank you so much. That was really profound. And there was a lot of wisdom in it. I wanted to ask you a question. I know that a lot of people want to make some statements or even ask a question, but you had shared your experience with those janitors, and you went home and you shared that with your mom, and then your mom gave the most powerful answer. Almost sound like my mom, so, a very powerful answer. And to a question to ask them, and tell them what you're planning to do, and that you will not wind up like them. I was going to ask you because you segued in immediately into, you graduating, and, you graduated honors to show who you really were and who you really are. I was going to ask you, what did they say? But as you spoke, I realized what they said was also what their response, you whatever you said and whatever their response was gratifying for you, because I realized that your mom took that first lid off.
That's right.
You see, and from there the sky was your limit. You see, no matter what the situations you might have encountered, still sky became your lid, your limit. Even though, as you said, your dad, and I like what you were saying, because your dad didn't walk out on you. Your dad just passed on, and that was had an indelible effect on you, as it has indelible effect on many young men out there whose dads walked off or whatever and don't have those dads. However, as you had said, your mother had some very powerful wisdom, and it's reflecting that it's played a critical role in your life. And she had, as you said, she stood for values, and that was instilled with you. That's very important. But one thing that came to my mind as I opened up this to the other people, I realized that mom had opened that first lid. And this is what you're sharing with us, the wisdom and the insights and the power that you're sharing with us through your words is reflective of that first lid taken off. God bless you, and thank you so much, brother, for sharing your stories with us.
I
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you.
So I just want to open up the floor. I know a lot of people would love to have something to say. The floor is open.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Hey, Randy, thanks a lot. I appreciate you, man, so much for being on. And just want to ask you about this lid, the lid that the church has on them. There's a church on almost every corner, especially where all the violence is going on. What do we do? And what are your suggestions about the lid on the church to save our young people?
Wow, that's a very good question, VJ. The first thing we must do is be transparent and release a lot of our traditional barriers or layers of judging them instead of accepting them for who they are and where they are at. And then trying to find a common bond. How can we assist them? How can we serve them? It's funny you ask that question, because when I became an ordained elder and I was at the church, I would play basketball with the kids. I played in my neighborhood and I also played at the church. We had a gym there. And I remember I had to work this one Saturday. And so I asked the deacon, I said, hey, Deacon, I got some kids coming from the neighborhood, man. Can you please, let them in the church, whatever, play basketball, whatever. And I told them, when you get there, just say, at the time, I just say Elder Wright, even though they called me Randy. I said, just tell them Elder Wright. They got there. They didn't let them in. They said, well, unless you guys come to church, you can't come play no basketball here. When I heard that, I was so disturbed. And I went back to the deacon. I said, "Hey man, what happened?" Well, they both come. I said, "Dude, let me tell you something. Just because they want to, basketball is an outlet that I have to go into their world and find out what they like and what's on their mind. So the more being relational than just system, we can be able to reach these young people. We can be able to reach those in our neighborhood. And that's what we started. We have to be transparent and we have to be willing to go into their world and not come with all of our rules and our regulations. Don't do this and that. Guess what? They don't call me Elder Wright, Reverend Wright. Kids, 12 years old, say, "Hey, what's up, Rand? What up, man?" Not that they're degrading me. Not that I don't, I have to have a title on my name to feel important. I just follow the examples of what Jesus went to where people were at. And that's all I want to do. That's all I want to challenge us to do. Go into your neighborhood, build relationship, find out what's going on in these young people's lives. I hope that helped.
No, that helped a lot. I appreciate that because it's exactly what we need to do. Many times we delegate stuff to people that aren't equipped. You delegated something to a person, he wasn't equipped to work with young people. He didn't have what he needed. And so many times we hand something over. And I tell people all the time, it takes sometimes 20 to 30 interactions with a young person to get their trust. And it takes one time to lose it. It takes one time to lose it. So you may work with somebody 20, 30 times and they come and say, "Yeah, love on me." And then somebody else takes your place and shoots it all the way back. So that's important that when we build relationships, understand and equip the people to do the work to work with our young people in these churches. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. And that's it. Yes.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for Randy, for Reverend Randy, Minister Randy, Randy Wright,
Yes, Rand.
for your dedication. And even as we communicated in the last couple of days, I could feel the passion that you had. So I thank you. Your message was impactful and powerful. But I'm going to speak to your mother for just a minute. Your mother empowered you, like Reverend Oliver said, to be able to take that lid off and the sky became your limit. And you have gone beyond the sky at this point because of the work that you do and you're constantly giving. You made the reference to basketball and the church. They might not have looked at it in such a way, but that basketball was a ministry within itself. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I always say the world is my pulpit, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not so much of what goes on behind the walls, it what goes on in the community, building the community, being available, um, building those relationships. So I appreciate everything that you do. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to get off because y'all know I can talk for like the next half an hour. My husband is here. I'm going to see if he has something to say. But we often say a woman can't teach a boy how to be a man. That she can. But what your mother gave you, she gave you hope. She gave you love. She gave you the heart to desire something beyond the janitors. She gave you integrity. She gave you character. And those are the things that any and all human beings need. God will develop the man as he continues to move forward. You are a living witness. So I thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. Thank you, Reverend VJ, for the referral, and you will be on again because when the book come
I'll be
out, I
honored.
want you to come on and explain your book and how that works. I'm working on a workbook, a journal, I'll say, and the title of that is Destiny by Design. So in that process, as we continue to move forward, I do want to hear from you again. I'm gonna put my husband on, see what he has to say, and then we'll move out the way so others can come on.
Hey,
Thank you, Dr.
blessings,
Adriana. I appreciate it.
blessings to
How you doing?
everyone. And Brother Randy, fantastic testimony and job. Giving honor to also my brother VJ, and definitely Reverend Oliver. Stop the violence. This is such an powerful platform that we can share with brothers like my brother Randy that gave a great testimony. Some things that resonated with me that I heard that is so significant. I co-pastored and pastored a church for over 25 years. And one of the pastors had a sign in the yard that said no trespassing, and it bothered me. And it bothered me. And I said, but this is not the kind of ministry that is very inclusive of community. I welcome the trespassing. I welcome to be a part of the community. And so when you said that the church said if you're not a member of this church, you can't play basketball, that's disturbing. This is what church is about, is reaching those. So I work in a ministry that I consider more of a ministry when I work with ex-offenders that are returning to citizenship. 18 to 24-year-olds, and also those that did a seriously hard time, 20, 30 years in penitentiary. And to try to reach those is a ministry within itself as well. So we've got to meet people where they are at. And so I was very inspired by your ministry and what you're doing, because it's reaching people where they are at. And I think it was Brother VJ who said that, or maybe it was Pastor Oliver or both, that said that, you know, we got to build a relationship up, in which takes about 20 or 30 times to contact with them, and only one time to lose them. And I can contest to that, because in the area of where we serve people, they don't trust anybody. You got to build trust before you can begin to minister to them. And that relationship doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to build those types of relationships. Everybody have heard this saying, nobody care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so I value those types of relationships. I wear my hat backwards sometime to let them know you are me and I am you. And then let them know, sometimes I don't wear a certain attire. I dress down so that I can invite them into the community and let them know that I am a part of you. If it wasn't for God, where would I be? So we got to let people know, that there's a better way. And then to take the lid off, let people take the lid off. Well, your mom that told you how significant it was and how much value you had, and don't be afraid of what people call you. Uh, just make sure that you don't want to be a janitor or be in a position to judge somebody else. Ain't nothing wrong with being a janitor, but don't be in a position where you're downing someone. So, I admire it. Thank you so much. And God bless you all. And God, I look forward to reading your book as well. God bless.
God
And
Thank you
bless.
so
Randy,
much.
I have to say this. I did a quick self-assessment to see what lids I had myself. Mine
Mm,
fall under
mm,
patience. It's not that I don't have
mm.
any patience, but there's a lid on that patience. So I'm going to work on that. Thank you so much, my brother. And welcome
Wow.
to our global ministry. If you can come on and just hear someone else speak, that's great, but we will have you on again. Thank you so much. God bless you.
I'm
Thank you.
glad we got that recorded. That Dr. Alexander's got a lid. We got that recorded. That's good. Hey, let
Yes,
me.
I got a lid. So when we're in those meetings for 2 hours, you know what happened.
Okay,
Well,
thank you so much.
All
I'm
I
right,
gonna
God
tell you,
bless.
we want
my
to move.
lid is work. My lid, Dr. Alexander's working out. I'm in the gym. This is my lid. I'm trying to get rid of it. Okay, I'm trying to get that
Okay,
fat down. So pray for me and my lid. All right.
exactly. And you pray for me and mine.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I wanted just to go to James Parker, but I wanted to say this to in the context of what everybody said. People forget, I think one of the most prolific statements that was made during the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, who came to bring salvation to humanity, change the whole paradigm of humanity on standards and love. And God said, very emphatic, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that one which was so precious to me, meant that he gave that for the world. He didn't say, I so love the church. He said, I so love the world. So God was telling us
Right.
how much he is ready to go down where you are, because his love is that powerful for each and every one of us, no matter where we are. So I'm really happy to hear and really moved by the words that all of you have been saying. But I'd like James Parker to come on and then allow you also, Randy, to respond to any of the statements that have been made towards you. Randy, James, real quick, God bless you. Come on.
Yeah, I was just great work. I love community work. I love outside of the box work. The sky is the limit. Just waiting for your next book where we don't have no jar. Get rid of that jar. That's what I'm looking for. You solved the vertical problem. Now we got to fix the horizontal problem. So how to get out of that get that jar away?
Yes, and I do address that in the book, so it's there. It's there. It's there.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because you don't want to get rid of the lid, then somebody come and put another one on. If you get rid of the bottle, they won't have one.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Thank you.
But
Go ahead.
No, I really like what Dr. Alexander said. She was very transparent and said, "Hey, you know what? Sometimes one of my lists is patience, not that she don't have it." And I think that once we can just be honest with ourselves and realize that we're evolving, we're growing, and when something is said to us to reveal what we're struggling with or what we're dealing with, and we meet it head on and say, you know what? Well, I want to get better in that area. To me, that speaks volumes to you. That speaks volumes to me, because it says that I'm willing to improve myself to reach the level of creating my destiny, because the goal is all these things you're going through are just transformational steps that are getting you to become this person who you were already meant to be. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you so much. There was a question, and what was the name of the book? And I believe it's Create Your Destiny.
Yes, create your destiny, how to design the life you want to live. We're going to have it out in June. We're looking at the first week in June, and I would like to come back and just visit you guys, not necessarily speak, but I will be getting some information to Dr. Alexander and VJ and you guys, because I'm going to do a virtual book launch, and so I would like to invite many of those you that can make it that day. So I will be coming out with some information that I can share about that book launch and how you can get the book when it will be available.
Amen. Thank you. We look forward to it. Okay, the floor is still open. Okay, Dr. Franklin, Reverend Franklin.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Reverend Oliver, and thank you, Dr. Alexander, the Alexander team. God bless you all. Brother Randy, thank you for that wonderful point about meeting people where they're at. That is so huge, because what it does, it allows us to let go of putting ourselves in our own lid of judging people. And we have that ability to let that go and let God do the judging, right?
That's right.
And I really appreciate that. And because, I would like to get your insight. I have a couple of questions, and that is, one is, how does meditation come into play in your relations and your dealings with people and your responsibility and your mission? And then what are some of the questions that you would ask? I guess maybe with the troubled teen, I guess a teen that's been so obsessed with his whole world being preoccupied with cell phones, video games, and he's come out of that dysfunctional in his ability to not be able to naturally relate to people, because you'll ask him a question and he does not respond back. You call his name and he doesn't say anything. What kind of questions would you ask somebody like that?
All right. The first one, if you would like me to answer that one first, is my meditation really comes from setting aside every day before I do anything to just spend time with God. That's my anchor, that's my source of everything. Then number two is I invest my mind in motivational, inspirational messages. Les Brown had a profound impact on me wanting to be a motivational speaker. And he's the one who I remember waking up 1 o'clock in the morning on PBS television and hearing somebody say, "You got to be hungry. You got to be, I got to be hungry." He was telling his life story. And so I try to make sure that I'm always listening to something uplifting. I read the autobiographies of other people. I love to read. I've read over 500 books because it was in the 8th grade that a security guard came to me and asked me, "Hey, would you like to make some money reading books? We pay 10 cents, 50 cents, 25 cents, $1." And I said, "Yeah." And you said you'll get paid every 2 weeks. I started out with the 10-cent books. And then eventually, when I got to the 50%, I was like, "Oh my God, I love books." I began to learn about history. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so what I'm telling you now is,
Mm.
part of this will answer that second question. The reason why sometimes it seems like it's so very difficult for us to reach our young people, because you're right. What the cell phone does, what social media does is it isolates them from interacting with people. And so it puts them on this island by themselves. And social media is feeding them. You got to be popular. You got to be accepted. And if you don't, then you're not popular. You're not cool. You're not fly. You're not fire. And my message to them is, let me ask you a question. Are you really so caught up in what somebody else says about you that who you are and what you mean, you really don't value? And so in asking them questions, I'm trying to get them to focus on their uniqueness. And what do you like to do? "Oh, I like to draw." "You like to draw? Okay, well, you like to draw." And I'm telling you from experience, when kids were bringing me, I love Dragon Ball Z. I love Goku. I love Vegeta and all these different characters. I began to watch these cartoons, these animated Japanese cartoons, to go into their world so I can identify them when they came to me and talked to me about them. I could relate to them. You have to go where young people are at. You can't say, why are you playing this video game 5 or 6 hours a day? Because we haven't shown them the importance or walk with them through the process of picking up a book or listening to an audiobook. Some of them don't like to read. I wasn't in love with reading when I first started, but by being exposed to it, I got better. And so I want to answer that question is, we've got to get the young people disconnected from being on the island by themselves or placing their value or who they are on how many likes they have. Because you can get 1 million likes today, like, "Whoo, I'm on top of the world. Yeah, I'm all that." Then tomorrow somebody make a comment about you, and it's like, "Oh man, they don't like me." Does that make sense?
Mm. Awesome.
We got to teach them who they are and the talents and gifts and abilities that they have. They can make a difference with those. And we have to focus on that instead of the negative. And I'm going to say one more thing. I'm not going to lie to you. I had to learn how to play those video games. I was getting whooped 45-13 playing Madden. And I remember telling one of my mentors, I said, "Hey, look, man, you laughing at me today. You beat me 45-3. But guess what? I'm going to go back home and I'm going to practice and I'm going to master Madden. And then when I went back, I beat a lot of them. Because what? It was competition. They was like, because they was talking junk, but guess what? I can talk junk too. I'm a highly fierce competitor. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I taught them how to learn from losing. I said, if you lose, you learn from losing. You don't be like, oh man, I can't bounce back. Life is so hard. No, you learn from losing, because losing will teach you lessons how to get better. And it'll teach you strategies how you can overcome. So if that's helpful, that's a suggestion from my real life experience.
Very cool. Thank you so much. I love that. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Yeah, that was very powerful. The floor is open. Thank you, Reverend Franklin, for always asking some really pertinent questions. Anyone else? The floor is open.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. One of the things I was able to do is with young people, especially. I never met a young person that wasn't hungry. I never met a young person that didn't have a certain food that, man, they just couldn't afford, or mom couldn't afford it. And if I could provide it to them, man, it opened up some great conversations. I've had some great meals with young people that, man, I always wanted this. I always wanted this certain meal, and I always wanted to eat that, but there was never enough money for the family to go. It was too many kids. And then I get to open up other things, opening up other things. And other things, sometimes it's not a question, it's just, how do you feel?
Mm, yeah.
How do you feel? Or
Mhm.
can I pray for you? Can I pray for you? Because a lot of times it's the men that have hurt them that won't allow them to talk to us. It's the men that came before us that destroyed their trust. And so, because we destroyed the trust, when we come genuinely say, I want to love, they're like, oh, no, that's happened before. I'm not going to open up to you because I know what will happen. You'll deceive me. And so, we have to break that trust down first. And then we can begin to open up what's wrong and why are you the way you are and how can I help you?
Yes, that is
Awesome.
excellent.
Awesome.
And the
Thank
truth.
you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, VJ. That was very powerful. Also, Wayne, welcome. Wayne Hankin.
Oh, Randy, it is a miracle that you have been pulled out of your situation and are optimistic. And you found that being good and doing what is right is really a cool thing. You and all of us have been born into a fallen world, which is not the world that God originally wanted. It's a mess. It's a mess on every level. And yet out of that, you've been pulled from that, and you have a spark of goodness, not only to improve yourself, but to improve others. And so I I enjoyed your testimony, and it gives hope. Your hope brings hope to other people. So I'm grateful for hearing just a little bit about your story. This is not your full story. There's so much more, but it was wonderful to hear. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your words of kindness.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's very powerful. The floor is still open. We have O'Connor, we have Barbara Mosley, Marks, others that are on.
Okay, I'll tell you, one of my most memorable experiences about being on the level of someone you want to get in touch with. In autism, a child will be so non-relational, right? Hard to even look at anybody. And it was many decades ago, this one mother had a autistic child, very young. The child never looked the mother in the face hardly one time, right? But one day she was sitting down on the floor, and she was so exhausted trying to work with this little child, and with doctors and medical things, and she sat there and she started kind of spinning this little top around, and then the child started doing the same thing, and the child actually looked up and looked at the mother right in the eyes, and she said, "It pierced my heart because he never looked at me before, but he recognized me and he said, 'Oh, hi, we're the same.'" So she got down to his level, and she did just by accident, you might say, because she was so tired. She was just down on the floor, just laying around, and at his level, he could see her and recognize her, and it broke his sense of not wanting to relate to someone. So it touched the mother's heart so much. So I think it's very true. If you want to be trusted by someone, you got to get with them, got to get down at their level and take responsibility for your life and their life together.
Yes, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. It's so true. Wow. That really touches my heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was very powerful.
Mm.
That kind of encapsulated your whole speech. How, Randy?
Mm, that's
And just one of those segments. Yeah, getting going where they are. Yeah. So anyway, the floor is still. We have a few more minutes, and then after that, I'm going to ask Randy Wright to give some closing words. But anyone else?
Actually, I was enjoying just listening, and you had to go and mention my name. All right. So the person who just spoke actually said what I was observing, that you get down to their level, wherever they are. You talk to them on a level they can understand, not from the academic level or the intellectual level, but the level they can understand. And that's called communication. So you are communicating with them, and that helped to develop trust. And additionally, you gave them your experience. And that is like liquid gold, because if you have a common base with them, that's a very strong foundation to trust. And so I thank you for all that you have done. That's what I've been picking up through the different comments and questions and statements. That's what I've been picking up. And that's a very powerful learning curve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Wow.
Barbara. That's really powerful. So we're coming to our conclusion. I would just like to just say that I want to thank you again, Randy Wright, for coming on. What you were saying is magical in many ways. It's powerful. And it just attests to the fact that there's so many diamonds, and I think Barbara used liquid gold. And I was thinking for the diamonds and the gems that are out there, such as yourself, that are out there, and that God has planted goodness in the world. And I think the young man, Wayne said, we were born into this sinful world, this world of fallenness, and it's a mess. But one thing that we all can concur is no matter how much a mess it is, the power of God's word and the power of goodness and other people that God chose to be the manifestation of goodness is still more powerful than the mess. It's just that we need to come together as a collective body, as you had said, and we come together. Then, as God always say, will you not see me? What he's saying is, yes, you will see me. Then, so we're always happy, and I'm really to have people as yourself, and we are, and that's why we have learned that through the excellent speakers like yourself who've come on, that there are little silos in their own, they're on their own, and how can we just play? We don't need to recreate the wheel, but how we can bring you guys together on a collective body to make a national impact. That's what we need, and that's what you were saying. How do we work and together? Because we cannot do it alone. But when we come together, there will be a national impact. So I'm really grateful that you have come on and shared your story. And I always say, I want to conclude and then let you conclude, is that your mom took that first lid off and sky was the limit. That's very powerful, my brother. God bless you. And please give us your last words.
All right. I just want to thank you all for just being here once again. And you all are so powerful. You don't know how much this means to me, because I'm always looking for people who have a common heart, goal, compassion, empathy, mission for others. And anytime you want to deal with violence or what's this spirit of destruction that just is just going crazy in our world, coming together, doing what you are doing. I am so glad to have been here today. I will come back, and whatever I can do to enhance you guys' mission and purpose, you can count on me. So I just want you to know, everybody, each of you are making a difference in your own special and unique way. And you don't have to compare yourself to anybody else's talent or gift, but whatever God's giving you, whether it be one person to reach 1,000 or 1,000,000, whatever you do is so important, and we need you. Continue to do this great work. God bless you all. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for those wonderful last words. And like you said, we will see you again.
All right. Have a good day. God bless you.
Okay, God bless everybody. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you. See you next week. I think a lot of us will be in Korea, but we'll work something out.
All right.
Yeah.
Take
Awesome.
care.
All right,
Thank
James.
you very much,
Parker,
Reverend
God
Oliver.
bless you. Thank you always. Sharon, Wayne,
Yeah.
and Daryl. See
Thank
you.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
God bless you, everybody.
So nice to hear and
Wonderful
see all of you.
inspirations. Thank you.
God bless us one and all.
Mhm.